So today we'll discuss about diabetic ketoacidosis. We'll discuss a case scenario. Beginning with, we have a case scenario where we have a 6-year-old girl who reported to emergency. On weighing, her weight was 16 kg, presented with a 3-day history of progressive epigastric pain, with the vomiting and with difficulty in breathing. What are the vitals at the time of examination? The vitals, she was having tachycardia. The heart rate was 148 beats per minute. She was having tachypnea with the respiratory rate of 42 per minute. She was dull, lethargic. GCS was 10 by 15 and BP was 80 by 50 mm of mercury. What were the various investigations that were available at that time of presentation? The plasma glucose level was 424 milligram per deciliter. We got the ABG done where the pH was 7.13, the bicarb was 3.8 millimoles per liter, and urine analysis reveals the ketonuria of 3 plus. So it's a clear-cut case of diabetic ketoacidosis. Now, what are the key features of diabetic ketoacidosis? It is DKA, diabetic ketoacidosis. So diabetes means there is increase in the sugar level. So there is hyperglycemia. And what is the level of blood glucose? The blood glucose has to be more than 200 milligram per deciliter. And K is ketonemia. So there is ketonemia. There is raised levels of ketone bodies in the blood, corresponding to which there are ketone bodies present in the urine. So blood beta hydroxybutyrate levels are more than 3 millimoles per liter, but on routine basis, we don't get the level of ketone bodies done in the blood. Instead, we do urine analysis for ketone bodies. And the third is A. A is acidosis. It is metabolic acidosis. Metabolic acidosis, the normal pH is 7.35 to 7.45. The pH is less than 7.3. The bicarb levels normal is 22 to 24 and it is less than 20 milliequivalents per liter. Approximately 20 to 40% of children with new onset diabetes. So most of the children that presents with the DK, they are the new onset. With 20 to 40% of cases are those who have new onset diabetes landing up in the emergency with the features of diabetic ketoacidosis. Now look, there is classification for diabetic ketoacidosis. It can either be mild, moderate or severe. It primarily depends upon the ABC analysis, the ABG that we get it done, and the various parameters, the level of pH and the CO2 levels. So in mild, the pH is from 7.35 to 7.25. In moderate, it is from 7.25 to 7.15, and in severe, pH has to be less than 7.15, right? And in current scenario, we have the pH of 7.3. So it is mild form. What are the CO2 levels? The CO2 levels are, these are not the CO2 levels, these are the bicarb levels. So what are the bicarb levels? The normal is 22 to 24. Here it is written 20 to 28. If it is less than 20, up to 16, it is mild. Then up to 10, it is between 10 to 15, it is moderate. And anything less than 10 is your severe. According to various clinical parameters, in DK, if the parameters are normal, pH is normal, bicarb levels are normal, and there are no clinical features, so it is normal. There are no features of diabetic ketoacidosis. But in mild cases, patient is oriented, but patient feel fatigued. In moderate, patient is sleepy but is arousable, and patient has Kussmaul's breathing pattern, but patient is oriented at the same time. Then in severe cases, the sensorium is dipped. So there is dipped sensorium to comatose state. Patient is sleepy, not arousable with the painful stimulus also. Patient can have Kussmaul's breathing, or patient can be gasping state also. So in case there are associated electrolyte imbalances, electrolyte disturbances with diabetic ketoacidosis, if the sodium levels are more than 150 milliequivalent per liter, you'll categorize this in case of severe diabetic ketoacidosis. This is the Kussmaul's breathing pattern, right? Patient has shallow breathing pattern, right? Hyperpnea is there. So what are the various causes? The various causes of Kussmaul's breathing is in Kussmaul's K. K is ketones. When there are increased levels of ketones, both in blood as well as urine, as seen in diabetic ketoacidosis. U is uremia, as seen in acute renal failure. Then in sepsis, then in salicylates, that is the paracetamol poisoning. Then in case of methanol poisoning, then small a is your aldehyde. So you have nothing, and for L again it is lactic acidosis. What are the various risk factors for a patient landing into ketoacidosis? As we discussed earlier, in majority of the cases what happens, कि majority of the patients who land up in emergency with the features of diabetic ketoacidosis, 40%, 20 to 40% are patients are those who are actually new onset cases. So what is the possible reason behind that? There is delay in the diagnosis. Patient belonging to low socioeconomic strata, and the clinical features, the symptoms are missed by the parents, and due to lack of access to healthcare services, there is delay in the diagnosis. So that is one valid risk factor. The other cases are those who are the known cases of type 1 diabetes mellitus, the children, but they land up into diabetic ketoacidosis. What are the reasons? The reasons could be they have missed the dose of insulin. Either dose is missed, or the insulin they are using is inactivated one, or there is wrong technique of administrating the insulin, or metabolic control. And the further risk of ketoacidosis increases if patient had previous cases of ketoacidosis. Gastroenteritis and vomiting further increases the risk of diabetic ketoacidosis. Pubertal, peripubertal and adolescent girls and males, because in peripubertal and adolescent times the requirement of insulin increases. So there is again, as we discussed earlier, there is limited access to the medical healthcare services. Any stress, be it infection, be it any surgery, again increases the risk of ketoacidosis. Very important, the most lethal complication of your ketoacidosis is cerebral edema. What are the factors that leads to cerebral edema? One is dehydration, and then is hyperosmolality. These two factors further decreases the cerebral perfusion, and rapid correction of this dehydration and rapid fall in the glucose levels may further worsen or may further increase the risk for cerebral edema, which is a most common complication seen in children. So what is the summary that we'll talk about? So insulin deficiency, what happens? There is insulin deficiency, there is increase in the counter regulatory hormones. Counter regulatory hormones क्या करेंगे? दो चीज़ें करेंगे, ये फर्दर ग्लूकोज के लेवल्स को बढ़ाएंगे, लिपिड्स का ब्रेकडाउन करेंगे. लिपिड्स का ब्रेकडाउन होगा तो फ्री फैटी एसिड्स विल बी फॉर्म्ड. फ्री फैटी एसिड्स लीवर में जाके दिल बी फॉर्म्ड इनटू द कीटोन बॉडीज जाके मेटाबॉलिक एसिडोसिस करवाएंगी. ग्लूकोज का ज़्यादा लेवल एंड कीटोन्स दे कॉजेज ऑस्मोटिक डायूरेसिस लीडिंग टू लॉस ऑफ योर वाटर एंड इलेक्ट्रोलाइट्स, एंड देयर इज अ risk of cerebral edema. Your ketoacidosis is hyponatremia also. As we can see, hyponatremia. Why hyponatremia? Because what happens? Hyperglycemia. Because of hyperglycemia, the osmolality is increased. So it shifts out from the cells in response to increased glucose. So for every 3.5 gram per deciliter increase in the glucose, there is fall in the sodium. For every 3.5 gram per deciliter increase in the glucose, there is fall in sodium by 1 milliequivalent per liter. The clinical features are all like the symptoms of dehydration. The patient have all the symptoms of dehydration, the sunken eyes, the delayed CRT, there can be hypotension, there is tachypnea, there is tachycardia, CRT can be prolonged, right? Decreased urine output can be there, but then you have rapid deep breathing, the Kussmaul pattern of breathing. You can have fruity odor of your breath. In case if the sensorium is dipped, you can think of the possible complication, which is very common and it is very fatal. On the other hand, the cerebral edema, where the sensorium is dipped, instead of tachycardia, patient is having bradycardia and hypertension. That is the Cushing reflex we are talking about, where there is irregular pattern of breathing, there is bradycardia and there is hypertension. On eye examination, there can be papilledema, abnormal pupillary reflex can be there, abnormal posturing can be there, decorticate or decerebrate posturing can be there, and there can be seizures also, right? So what is the clinical triad? Clinical triad is basically, in clinical triad we have to talk about the three things. The first thing is dehydration which can lead to shock also, dehydration and shock. Then you have fast breathing. Underlying, there can be sepsis, there can be renal failure. When there is fast breathing, you have to think of sepsis. It can be, so it is basically acidotic breathing. It can be because of IEM also. Then the third is your altered sensorium. It can be further because of your acute. So this is basically the possible differentials that will talk the various symptomatology. Agar dehydration and shock, underlying diarrhea can be there, underlying vomiting can be there, fast breathing can be in IM, it can be in renal failure, it can be in sepsis. Then altered sensorium can be due to any of the CNS infections, that can be due to hypoglycemia also. Biochemical triad, in case of DK, one is the glucose levels are high, the other is abnormal ABG, where pH is less, bicarbs are less, and then you have got ketonuria or ketonemia. The clinical features, clinical clues that points towards ketoacidosis. One is patient is having vomiting, but there are no loose stools. Patient can present like that also. Patient is having fast breathing, but underlying there are no respiratory signs. Patient is dehydrated, looking dehydrated, but patient is voiding urine. There is no decreased urine output because there is osmotic diuresis. Patient is shocked but without oliguria or anuria. Patient was polyphagic in history, but there is history of weight loss. So these are the clinical clues towards your diabetes. What are the lab findings? In lab findings, when you'll get the CBC done, there are high TLC count. TLC count is high, but that is not because of infection. There can be elevated urea and creatinine, but it is not in case of AKI, right? Acidosis, that does not need bicarbonate. So hyponatremia, which is spurious hyponatremia, then hyperkalemia despite reduced potassium levels, polyuria needing no replacement of fluids.